Hey everyone, welcome to this welcome to this TGIF edition of Cartoon Flashback. And as you have known, a majority of my cartoon flashbacks have been focusing lately this month or so on the Scooby-Doo franchise. And I figured, why not continue it, especially on this first day, well, will be the first day officially at 4 o'clock, of the Patterson Apricot Fiesta of 2013. And let's talk about, in my personal opinion, one of the better Scooby-Doo cartoons to come out in recent memory. This came out about a decade ago, a little over a decade, about 10 years ago, and was considered, in my opinion, and I'm sure in the opinion of others, one of the better Scooby-Doo cartoons, although people do have certain reservations for it. And I'm talking about What's New Scooby-Doo. And What's New Scooby-Doo came out around the time that the first live-action film, theatrical film, was released, and the continuation of then and even now of the direct-to-video animated films. Now, how do I know this came out between both those around that time frame, from the first live-action movie, in between several direct-to-video films, and the sequel, Monsters Unleashed? Because the 2004 direct-to-video film, Loch Ness, took their design mostly from What's New Scooby-Doo. Basically, it was the design. Basically, you had Daphne and Fred in the What's New Scooby-Doo looks. That's what you had them in. Now, obviously, as we have seen throughout the years, that didn't last. That lasted for a little bit, but it didn't last too long, and then they went back to their original outfits that they've been known for, the iconic outfits. And so, that was then. So that was basically why in Loch Ness Monster, why they had a bit of a different look and an animation similar to the animated show at that time. Now, What's New Scooby-Doo, many consider as a sequel to Where Are You?, the Scooby-Doo show, and the new Scooby-Doo movies and whatnot. And they could be right. They could be very right. It's sort of a sequel, if you will, but not really. See, What's New Scooby-Doo obviously takes place in the same continuity, believe it or not, as the direct-to-video animated films, and, believe it or not, somewhat in the continuity of the live-action films. Now, you might say to yourself, well, how can that be? How can that be? How can it take place and all that? Well, it's real simple. It's real simple. Everything is modernized. They're basically in today's world. There's nothing retro or anything. And every celebrity, if they have a celebrity guest star, and they have many, and they've had many, believe it or not, throughout the run of the show. Throughout the run of the show, that celebrity or celebrities would be themselves. For example, they had the band Simple Plan, which did the theme song. They had the band Kiss. They had Mike Piazza himself in there, and along with several others. So they had their share of characters, which is no doubt celebrities, which was no doubt a plus for them. No doubt a plus. The other thing about What's New Scooby-Doo is it spawned several holiday specials. They spawned a Valentine's Day one. They spawned one of my personal favorites, a Christmas one, and of course a Halloween one. But what also indicated that this was in the same continuity as the direct-to-video animated films was you had the Hex Girls guest star and appear in an episode. I think it was called Vampire Wedding or something, which was pretty cool. Really, really cool. Now, the thing about What's New Scooby-Doo, which to me made it one of the better ones, was it finally gave the characters, and it finally gave the characters, and I'm talking specifically Fred and Velma. It gave them characteristics that normally they didn't really have before. I mean, whether you like Fred Jones or not, it gave this show, just like the movies, but this show more so than the movies, gave him more of a personality than he's ever had. Velma had the same thing. Velma was given the same trait. She was given a personality. Daphne, well, let's just say what she had was enhanced. Basically, the writers of the movies, and more so this series, took what Daphne was in the live-action films, the direct-to-video films, and even in the past continuity of All New Scooby-Doo Scrappy, New Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and 13 Ghosts. They took all of that and they upped it by basically 10 and gave her more of a personality than she's ever had. And as far as Shaggy and Scooby went, they kept Shaggy and Scooby in there. You know, they kept Shaggy and Scooby as best, basically just about as the same as we have known them for decades. But of course they did up their personality and characteristics a little bit more as well. The other thing about What's New Scooby-Doo is when they would unmask the villains, there were several times in episodes, especially two that I have, that I recorded on my Apex DVD recorder back in 2003, when the show was first airing. The one thing that made this different than any of the previous incarnations was sometimes the villains that they would unmask would be people that they personally were very close with. Like, you had the villain in, I think, Attack of the 50-Foot Shaggy, you know, being someone that Velma was very close friends with and looked up to. You had the villain in Homeward Hound being someone that Shaggy was close to as a friend. So, yeah. You had it all. I mean, I even think the Halloween one was a bit in that same perspective, if you know what I mean. The point is, it did things, it went in a direction when it came to unmasking the villains that you didn't, like I said, you never saw in previous incarnations of Scooby-Doo. You never saw that. You never saw that. Just drinking me some coffee there. But yeah, you never saw that much. Now, another thing about What's New Scooby-Doo, which really sticks out to me, and I don't know if I have this episode on one of my DVDs or I have it on a tape back in Kansas or not, but one of the things I liked about this was they had one episode where I think they were at a mall and had to do with some toys coming to life or something. And what happened was they made a decision that, you know, they're always splitting up. They're always doing the same split-ups. You know, like, it's always Fred going with Daphne and Velma, or Fred going with Daphne and Velma going with Shaggy and Scooby, or something like that. So this is the one thing in this episode that really proved to me that they're doing things far more different than the other ones did. What they did in this episode is they decided, you know what? Let's switch up. Let's go for a change. Let's kind of change things up a bit. Let's try something fresh and different. So what happens? Shaggy goes with Fred. The girls go with Scooby. Yeah, I'm not lying. The girls, Daphne and Velma, go with Scooby. Shaggy goes with Fred. And here's what's funny about this. Not even a minute or so in to this new split up, that Fred and Shaggy are like, you know what? Next time, let's just stick to the regular formula. because it was kind of awkward, because here, think about it this way. Here, you're Fred. Think about it. Here's Fred. Whether you like the guy or not, here's Fred. He's always used to being around Daphne and Velma, maybe even just Velma at times, or Daphne. He's used to that. He's not used to having someone like Shaggy splitting up with him, and the girls are splitting up with Scooby. And the girls are going, he's not used to that. And that was kind of awkward. And to me, it was kind of awkward for not just Fred, but it was awkward for Shaggy, because Shaggy himself was always used to splitting up and going with Scooby, and sometimes going with Scooby and Velma. Or if they wanted to surprise us a little bit, Scooby and Daphne. Well, of course, if you take a look at all new Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and 13 Ghosts. So he was always so used to that. Basically, what it was is that Fred and Shaggy was so used to that regular formula. But the thing is, you look on the other end, and it doesn't bother the girls. It didn't bother Scooby or the girls. It's like, hey, it was nice. Let's switch things up. Let's see what happens. And to me, again, along with the fact that they sometimes made the villains turn out to be people that were close, if not personally close, to some of the members of Mystery Inc., that to me made this show unique and different. It really did. It really did. And I really got a kick out of the show because of that. I really enjoyed it. Excuse me. Another thing is they did things that were different. And, they did things that were a little bit different. Like there's an episode called Wrestlemania Ax, which is a play on the event named Wrestlemania, which is ironic because next year they're doing a WrestleMania movie with Scooby-Doo. Go figure. But anyway, this Wrestlemania Ax, and there's a situation where the girls, more so Daphne, ends up getting herself and Velma involved in a diva tag team match, or women's tag team match, which they actually do win, but they have to compete. I haven't seen this episode in a while, but basically they have to compete against two of the toughest women wrestlers in the fictional BWF. And they have to go by different names. Like you have Daphne going by a name of Fashionista or something like that. Fashion something. And you have Velma going by the name of Bookworm. Which I think was kind of cool, kind of unique. I mean, basically you have, in this episode, you have the Mystery Inc. gang, all of them, I think, competing in wrestling, just to solve a mystery. And basically what was unique about this one is the villain here, the Titanic twist or something like that, turns out to be two kids whose father is a wrestler. And they're basically doing this because they don't want the father wrestling anymore and getting himself hurt. So again, that's another uniqueness. Just when you think it could be someone big, it turns out to be someone else or other people. More than just one person, if you will. And again, that's what made, to me, What's New Scooby-Doo really stand out at that time. And what was crazy, and what was even more crazy sometimes, or not crazy, but was more unique, was when they would unmask a villain, it wouldn't be just like taking the mask off the head and revealing who it was. No. Sometimes, like in, say, Attack of the 50-Foot Shaggy, the villain would have to be unmasked by having basically a mechanical door open up on whatever the monster was. Like you have... Like right now, I think they're showing the episode She Sees Sea Monsters at the Seashore. And it's where Daphne surfs. And this is another thing. They made Daphne... The one thing I will say about What's New Scooby-Doo, just like some of the animated films and the live-action films, is they made Daphne more diverse. They gave her more of an ass-kicking side of herself that you didn't see before. Anyway, though, like I said, here you have, here are sometimes where you would have the person, the person behind the thing not under a mask, but piloting a machine. So, to me, that was really, really a unique uh, perspective there, because you never seen something like that much in what's in the original, like Where Are You and Scooby-Doo show, and even the new Scooby-Doo movies, and even the first season of Scooby and Scrappy. You never saw anything like that. You never did. Now, one last caveat about this, or two last caveats. The second to last one is the animation. The animation to me was some of the best animation I've ever seen on Saturday for a Saturday morning cartoon at that time, and this is in the early 2000s. Some of the best animation I've seen, and to me, it really captured the spirit of Scooby-Doo and what it was originally meant to be. It really did. I really like that. Now, another thing that caught my eye, and I didn't even know about this until somebody pointed it out at one of the forums or one of the Scooby-Doo fan sites, was that in the first few moments of Homeward Hound, when just as the Mystery Inc. gang is showing up at the dog show, there's a little bit of an Easter egg right there, right in front of the screen. And that Easter egg is a very brief cameo of Scooby-Doo. Yeah, it's Scooby-Doo right there. Now, you might think to yourself, no way, it couldn't be. Trust me, it was. Pink collar, yellow tag, all white. It was D. She just wasn't acknowledged, but it was a Easter egg. It was a cameo. It was like a little fan service right there given to you. And again, that was the one thing about What's New Scooby-Doo. I mean, yeah, you see it in a lot of shows today, and you've probably seen some shows in the past do it, but this one really, to me, when you see something like that, it gives you an Easter egg. It's basically saying, hey, do you recognize who that dog was, even though they were briefly on the screen? Do you recognize some of the stuff in the background from previous Scooby-Doo incarnations? And to me, that's what really made What's New Scooby-Doo, in my personal opinion, one of the best ones of that time. Do I wish it would have continued on? You're damn right I do. I really do wish it would have continued for a few more years. I really wish they wouldn't have gone and did what they did with Shaggy and Scooby Get a Clue. Because to me, I'll be honest, I never watched it and I never will. I mean, I liked Scooby-Doo, What's New Scooby-Doo so much. I have the Halloween. I have the Christmas specials on DVD, recorded. I recorded through like I mentioned earlier, my Apex recorder. I recorded 2 episodes, maybe a few more on other DVDs of What's New. So what does that tell you about me? I like the show. I really do. And I'm probably down the line, maybe sooner than anybody thinks, I'll get the complete series. Because I do like What's New Scooby-Doo. Because to me, like I said, the animation itself captures the spirit of what Scooby-Doo was meant to be. The series itself, let's just put it that way, the series itself captures what Scooby-Doo was always meant to be. Or was always meant to be, was meant to be, and is meant to be. And I'm pretty sure anybody that's criticized SDMI would agree with that. Because there are certain things in here you would think to yourself and say, there is no way I could like this. Believe me, you can like it. You can. You got to give it a chance. True, there's a lot of people that say, well, there's a lot of Fred Daphne moments in there. Well, not really. You see, the Valentine's Day special one, I think that's the one people are talking about, where Fred and Daphne have to pretend to go on a date. They feel a little awkward. That's the thing. They're awkward about what they're doing. So, yeah, there's an attraction, but it's awkward. Kind of get the idea? So, again, you can have your opinion about it. You can have your reservations about the show, but to me, I personally think What's New Scooby-Doo was one of the better ones of the past decade, and the past 20 years, if you will. In fact, I think I put it in my top something of my countdown of Scooby-Doo shows, so check that out here on my channel. But that's all I'm going to say on this edition of the Cartoon Flashback. And our topic today being What's New Scooby-Doo. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'll talk to you later.